Particularly cold night, temperatures generally dipping to the mid to high single figures or low double figures, a little bit chillier for northern Scotland. And here, some of the showers first thing again will be falling as snow over the mountains, but at lower levels it's just heavy showers, even some more prolonged spells of rain through central parts of Scotland. Some sunshine in the far north, also the far south of Scotland. Northern Ireland seeing a mix of sunny spells and showers, likewise for much of northwest England, southwest England and Wales. For the Midlands, East Anglia and for parts of the southeast, it's mostly dry first thing with some decent sunny spells. But for all of the UK, we've got this gusty westerly breeze. That's going to be particularly strong over the Pennines and just to the east of the Pennines through the morning especially. And that's going to continue to bring showers in from the west. Some prolonged rain pushing into Cornwall, parts of Devon by the afternoon, and those heavy showers across western Scotland just coming in thick and fast. Away from that, we do have some sunshine, but on Wednesday the more prolonged rain in the southwest spreads more widely to much of the southern two-thirds of the UK, particularly Wales, the southwest of England and later on the Midlands. To the north, northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, another day of bright spells but also some heavy showers and some mountain snow for Scotland. Staying mixed Thursday and Friday with the chance of some stronger winds at times.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good evening, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M90 Queensferry crossing is partially blocked southbound due to a traffic incident, leading to longer journey times. In Staffordshire, the A38 northbound between Burton-upon-Trent North and the A5132 faces 10-minute delays. Hertfordshire's M25 anti-clockwise between junction 17 and 16 has 30-minute delays due to a broken-down vehicle. Surrey drivers should prepare for congestion at the M25 anti-clockwise entry slip at junction 12. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast services are delayed between Milton Keynes Central and Northampton and at Glasgow Central. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can become our biggest winner this year. First, you could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxury vehicle comfortably sleeps four, has its own fitted kitchen and bathroom areas, and comes complete with fitted awning and bicycle rack. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good evening to you, beautiful people. Welcome to GBU Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Coming up on tonight's show,
Pretty much when we were in that inquiry, we were stripped from our voices, and we're not going to be stripped from our voices anymore. It wasn't morally correct for me to maintain myself on the panel because of how it was going. It was rigged from the start.
Scathing there earlier on, and the grooming gangs inquiry row continues as Reform UK today unveils its latest proposal alongside grooming gang survivor Ellie Ann Reynolds. Nigel Farage joins me in just a moment's time. Also on tonight's show.
We need to close all asylum hotels, and we need to do so for good.
But expensive asylum hotels will be closed.
To bring the number of hotels down, to end the use of hotels.
Will they end the hotels? Because meanwhile, a damning new committee report out today to put the Home Office's migrant hotel failures on full display, and it could cost you billions of extra pounds. Now, following the disastrous release and recapture of the Epping migrant who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old schoolgirl, David Lammy is facing a backlash for his knee-jerk reaction measures. Plus,
I think what she said was a disgrace. I think it was racist, and the deafening silence from her party leader says it all.
yes, a racism row has broken out between Reform MP Sarah Pochin and the Health Secretary Wes Streeting after Miss Pochin criticised diversity and inclusion in the advertising industry. Well, all of that to come, but first, here's your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Martin, thank you, and a very good evening to you. Just coming up to 2 minutes past 7. Well, the top story tonight, David Lammy has said he is livid after a convicted sex offender was mistakenly released from HMP Chelmsford. Hadush Kabatu, jailed for assaulting a 14-year-old girl, was freed by human error before being recaptured in North London. The Justice Secretary told MPs today it was a mistake that should have never happened and promised Kabatu will be deported back to Ethiopia as quickly as possible. Well, he has ordered tougher release checks and an independent inquiry, but speaking in the Commons earlier, he hit back at the Tories, who he blames for 14 years of failure for the crisis in Britain's prisons.
It was the choices that his party made through 14 years of chaos. They said that they were the government of security and safety. They oversaw rising violent crime and crumbling courts and crumbling prisons. Violence went up in our prisons. Self-harm went up in our prisons. Drug abuse went up in our prisons. And prison officer numbers were cut under his watch. And he comes here and has the brass neck to give the impression that this started just 14 months ago.
Nigel Farage says the government's grooming gangs inquiry is dead in the water, calling it too slow, too broad and lacking real accountability. The Reform leader says Parliament should now step up and lead its own investigation, using what he called its extraordinary powers to uncover the truth. Earlier today, he was joined by survivor Ellie Ann Reynolds, who quit the government's panel. She claims victims were silenced and said the process was gaslighty, degrading and manipulative.
It was down to the fact that they don't want to vocalise the ethnicity of these men. We almost felt uncomfortable vocalising the ethnicity of these men, and like we shouldn't. Pretty much when we were in that inquiry, we were stripped from our voices, and we're not going to be stripped from our voices anymore. It wasn't morally correct for me to maintain myself on the panel because of how it was going. It was rigged from the start.
Also tonight, a ruthless Romanian gang that drugged, raped and trafficked women in Dundee has been jailed for a total of 68 years. The 5 gang members, 4 men and 1 woman, were convicted for dozens of offences after a major police investigation uncovered a network exploiting vulnerable women in brothels across Tayside. The ringleader, described in court as a smirking and winking pimp, was sentenced to 20 years behind bars with 4 more on supervision. A scathing report says the Home Office has squandered billions of pounds of taxpayers' money on asylum hotels. MPs on the Home Affairs Committee have branded the system chaotic, failed and expensive. They're warning Sir Keir Starmer's government risks losing public trust unless they find a clear plan to fix it. The Home Office insists it is furious about the number of migrants in hotels, and they say every single one will be closed. Well, earlier today, the Prime Minister responded to that criticism.
We had years under the previous government where they didn't process claims. So tens of thousands of people didn't have their claims processed. They were then housed in hotels. That was the policy of the last government. There were 400 at the height of it. It's now about 200. I'm determined that we will close those hotels. We're processing the claims much more quickly, and where people have got no right to be in our country, we're removing them at a higher rate than the best part of a decade. So we're taking the action, but I can't tell you how frustrated and angry I am that we've been left with a mess as big as this by the last government.
You're up to date just after 7 o'clock. I'll be back with you in an hour's time. Now, though, it's over to Martin.
Thank you, Sam. It's a pleasure to have your company here on GBU Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, a reminder, later in the show, Nigel Farage will be hot-footing it into the studio for reaction, for feedback on his proposal today for a rape gang inquiry led by Parliamentary Select Committee. He's putting that to Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker, as we speak. He'll be here in the studio with full reaction later in the show. But for now, how many times have you heard this promise before?
We need to close all asylum hotels, and we need to do so for good.
But expensive asylum hotels will be closed.
To bring the number of hotels down, to end the use of hotels.
Well, far from closing the hotels or ending them, the new Home Affairs Committee report out today has revealed that billions of pounds of taxpayers' money, that's right, your money, has been squandered on asylum hotels because of what is being a failed, chaotic and expensive system. Now, the Home Affairs Committee has found that a series of failures allowed the estimated cost of the 10-year asylum accommodation contracts to soar from £4.5 billion to an eye-watering £15.3 billion. Well, I'm now joined by the former chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, Tim Lawton. Tim, pleasure to have your company. How many times have we heard asylum hotels will end? They won't end, and nor will the bill. In fact, it's getting worse and worse and worse.
It is getting worse, Martin, and these figures today are just extraordinary. We knew a load of money was going on hotels, but 3 times, 4 times what was effectively budgeted for in this 10-year deal. We looked at these hotels and other accommodation provided by private firms some years ago. Back in 2018, the Home Affairs Select Committee had an inquiry then, because the standard of the accommodation left a lot to be desired, be it in poor hotels or in rented accommodation. And we were promised that the new contracts, 10-year contracts, which were signed back in 2019, would get value for money. And in case there was any profiteering by these companies running accommodation, there would be a profit share back with the government refunded. And there's a break clause in the contract which comes in next year. What we've learned today is none of that money has been refunded to the Home Office. They haven't actually gone after it. And so that break clause absolutely needs to be brought into effect next year. I mean, it's just extraordinary how much money has been wasted on a hotel accommodation. And the now government, when they're in opposition, saying, oh, we must end all this hotel accommodation, it's going to be easier soon, just elect us. And look, the numbers are going up again.
Tim, the point that comes out of this report that I think is astonishing is that billions are not only being squandered because it's down to incompetent Home Office officials who neglected day-to-day management, resulting in excessive profits. Now, of course, excessive profits are all paid for by the taxpayer. And I put it to you, does this prove once again the Home Office is simply unfit for purpose?
Well, of course it does. And even the Home Secretary, the current Home Secretary, admitted that the Home Office is not fit for purpose. Look, those of us who are on the Home Affairs Select Committee, I was on it for 10 years. This is no secret. We've known that the Home Office has been the most dysfunctional department in government. And on so many fronts, be it small boat crossings, now the Chinese spy scandal, the grooming gangs, so often, I'm afraid it comes back to incompetence and poor management in the Home Office. Civil servants, frankly, in the Home Office were not up to muster in negotiating big commercial contracts with the companies offering this accommodation. And I'm afraid the figures lay that absolutely bare today. That's why, under the last government, my government, which again is guilty of mismanagement in many cases here. But that's why when the contracts were signed in 2019, to guard against excessive profits, there was this cap put, and then profits will be shared, and that money should come back to the Home Office. There were safeguards put in that contract, and the Home Office just hasn't even enforced those safeguards. I mean, it's beyond belief.
Tim, is something else at play here? And perhaps it's not incompetence. Perhaps there's an agenda. Some people say the Home Office are actually activists. Is there anything in that? Do you think there are people within the Home Office that actually encourage, want unlimited immigration into this country, and they're not doing anything about it to stop it?
Well, there's the conspiracy or cock-up theory. But frankly, spending 3.5 times as much on hotel accommodation, which I think everybody agrees is not a good use of money, and it's costing something £145 per person per night. Well, you can get a pretty decent hotel for that, just staying on holiday. In other accommodation, which we were trying to extend, the price is something like £23 per night. So this is a really bad use of money. And even if your conspiracy theories, which I don't agree with, are true, then it's not a good advert for the way we manage migration to be wasting so much money on those migrants that we have to accommodate. And of course, that number is going up. And we found out last week that the numbers who have come here on small boats has exceeded the whole of last year.
With respect, you brush that off as a conspiracy theory, but there seems to be a lack of will to enforce government policy. From successive governments, the Home Office just seems diametrically opposed to listening to the electorate, control our borders and clamp down on this waste.
Look, I agree. The Home Office has been really inefficient and incompetent at dealing with this in the past. Now, I don't see the evidence it's part of some big conspiracy. I'm afraid the evidence points to the fact that as you've just said, and I've agreed, the Home Office is just not fit for purpose and certainly cannot handle these sorts of big contracts. But then, the now government were making out in opposition that this was all down to the last government and they would just solve everything by coming into power. Well, they found out it's a lot more difficult to solve than they were trying to claim, and now they're paying for the consequences of it.
OK, we'll leave it there. Thanks for joining us on the show tonight. That's the former chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee, Tim Lawton. Thank you very much. Now, it's Monday night, so I'm joined in the studio by GB News' senior political commentator, Nigel Nelson. Nigel, welcome to the show. I put it to you that the Home Office is institutionally incompetent. It's not doing what the electorate wants it to do. It's squandering an additional £10 billion. They're not fit for purpose, and the entire thing needs to get a water cannon to it. It needs a huge clean-out.
Yes, it does. This is where I agree with you, and it's one of the few reform policies, by the way, that I do agree with. That one of the things the reform talks about is the Home Office is too big. You ought to split off immigration and give it a separate department. The problem with the Home Office, and it has been for years, is they're so busy firefighting. So much traffic passes through. They've got so many responsibilities. They can't concentrate on each one. So, for instance, they missed the Windrush scandal simply because they were too busy dealing with other things that were happening. So if you took immigration away from it, the Home Office would have a little bit more flexibility to deal with other things.
Is there a case to be made in the United Kingdom now for a Donald Trump-style system of making sure that people who work for the federal government in America or the Home Office in Britain are aligned with government policy? Do as you're told. It's your job to cut costs on asylum hotels. It's your job to control borders and to manage asylum effectively, and they're patently failing on every measurable level.
Well, I certainly think that what civil servants should do is carry out government policy. The politicians make the policy. The job of the civil service...
They don't.
Well, the job of the civil service is to carry it out. It is also the job of the civil service to say, look, actually, this may not work. This needs tweaking. This needs to be done in a different way. The classic was Rwanda. The permanent secretary, the most senior official in the Home Office, wouldn't sign it off for value for money,
because he saw no evidence it would act as a deterrent. Now, that's important. Officials must do that, but at the end of the day, it's politicians who make the decisions.
Tim Lawton there brushed off my comments about there being an accusation, perhaps, that the Home Office doesn't agree with the government policy, to the point, actually, they're accused of being staffed by activists, by the wokerati. Is that unfair?
Yes, I think it is. I agree with Tim on this one. I don't believe that is the case in the Home Office. I know an awful lot of Home Office officials.
How many Conservatives and people who you'd say from the political right wing work for the Home Office? I'd say hardly any.
Well, I mean, none of them have ever disclosed how they vote to me. That we've talked through policy, but they won't actually say how they vote, and nor should they. The whole
Why not?
Because
how about they are political, so they actually do the job they're employed to do.
They
enforce government policy.
They serve the government of the day, of whatever flavour that government might be. So I don't know how many...
They serve the people. They're paid for by the people. Their wages are paid for by people watching this show. Do as you're blooming well told.
But their job is to serve the government and carry out government policy when they're given it. On this one, they've clearly failed. I mean, there's no question about it. They've failed. But of the nine in 10 years when this money went shooting up from 4.5 billion to over 15 billion, over those 9 years, the Tories were in power. So I'm often loath to blame the Tories, as Labour keep doing, but in this case, they are to blame. Things like Rwanda increased the backlog because they put a pause on trying to get through asylum claims. That just made life worse.
How long can they keep banging on about blaming the Tories for? They're blamed for everything.
Well, in this particular case, I think that for 9 of those 10 years, the last year is down to Labour, obviously. For 9 of those 10 years, the Tories were in power. They also had things like, in fairness, they had COVID to deal with. There was a problem during that time. But the important thing is that policy wasn't working. It made the situation worse because people were in this country who shouldn't be, but they couldn't leave it because the Tories were trying to get Rwanda through. So that caused a huge spike in the number of people in hotels.
OK, thank you very much to Tim Lawson and to you, Nigel Nelson, of course. Now, coming up in just a moment's time, as the Epping migrant who was accidentally released into the public last week is finally deported, imminently, we're led to believe. Prison governors have launched a scathing attack on David Lammy over his knee-jerk response to the scandal. That's next.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, do you remember this over the summer?
Kids, protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids! Protect our kids!
Yes, of course, those were the nationwide migrant hotel protests that were sparked, of course, after the Ethiopian migrant sexually assaulted a 14-year-old schoolgirl. Well, as you may remember, upon his departure for deportation last week, he was accidentally released into the public for 3 entire days before finally being recaptured. But just to add to the government's woes, the Justice Secretary David Lammy is now facing a huge backlash from prison governors for forcing what they've called knee-jerk measures to prevent this from ever happening again, including what one source claimed would add 45 minutes of extra bureaucracy and red tape for every single prisoner when prisons themselves are stretched to breaking point. I'm joined now by the retired prison governor, Rona Hotchkiss. Rona, welcome to the show. They're calling him Calamity Lammy in Parliament today, and it seems the buck stops anywhere but with the Justice Secretary. And do you feel that the burden of proof, the burden of accountability is perhaps unfairly being placed on people who work in the prison service?
Well, yes, I would agree with that. I mean, I think you have to remember that prisons like HMP Chelmsford are very, very busy. They have hundreds of movements in and out in a week. And there's also been a significant reduction in staffing and resources, particularly over the last 10 years. A bit rich of the Tories to be complaining when it was really their cuts that precipitated all of this. But the difficulty is no matter how good you make a system, you still need humans to operate it, and there will always be a margin of human error. This kind of thing has always happened in prisons. I think it's significant that it's increased dramatically over the last couple of years as numbers in prison have gone up, staffing has gone down. But you also, I think, have to remember that the government and the previous government introduced various early release schemes. And it's not surprising if prison staff are uncertain as to who's meant to be coming and going when. They'll be well used to seeing people who were meant to be serving longer in prison getting out really early.
And Rona, isn't that the point? We've seen 262 prisoners released early between March 2024 and March 2025. That's under the Labour government. And there's been a 128% increase. Now, the political blame game can go on all we like, and we saw that in Parliament earlier on. But the fact of the matter is, for years, the prison service has been overstretched and underfunded. What's your take on this new system that David Lammy is proposing today, a 30-point check, where the senior governor has to be there on duty, 45 minutes per inmate? Surely that's adding to the workload of an already frazzled workforce.
Well, it's completely unsustainable. It's nonsense, and it will simply add to the difficulties that prison staff face. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it increased the numbers of people being handled wrongly, because they'll have to hurry other aspects of the discharge, the liberation process, the transfer process. It will delay people getting out to courts, because it all has to be done for that as well. It'll delay people going to hospital appointments. It'll cause the prison service to collapse if they don't put any more resources in. And if they put the resources in the first place, this would be happening far less frequently. So it's kind of shutting the stable door after the horse is bolted. And you're quite right. It's snigger-worthy watching politicians fighting over this. This is not the fault of one party over another one. It's the fault of a system that has not been ameliorated by any political party on the brink of collapse.
You know, Rowan Hotchkiss, I think you're exactly right. Thanks for joining us tonight and sharing your expertise. Retired Prison Governor Rowan Hotchkiss, thank you very much. Getting some reaction now. Back in the studio, GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson joins me. Can I show you a clip earlier on, Nigel? There was, I think, a very undignified exchange in the Commons between David Lammy and Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick said this to David Lammy. Check out his reaction.
Where to begin? This Justice Secretary could not deport the only small boat migrant who who tried to be deported. Yes. Having been mistakenly released, Hadush Kabatu came back to prison asking to be deported, not once, not twice, but 5 times. But he was turned away. Madam Deputy Speaker, the only illegal migrants this government are stopping are those that actually want to leave the UK. His officials, briefing the press, called it the mother of all... Yeah, they're not wrong, are they? Calamity Lammy strikes again.
Nigel Nelson, I put it to you. This is an incredibly serious situation. You had the father of a 14-year-old who'd been sexually molested by an Ethiopian illegal immigrant who they can't even deport. He simply goes walkabout for 3 days, roaming around parks in London, was captured by a children's play area. David Lammy there was called Calamity Lammy and he thinks it's hilarious. There's nothing funny about this.
No, there isn't anything funny about it. I imagine what he was laughing at was the pun on his name. But in this particular case, it is appalling, and this is one where you don't blame the Tories for. I mean, this happened on Labour's watch, and Labour have to address it. Now, we're going to have a proper investigation. What prison governors are complaining about at the moment is that some emergency measures have been put in to make sure it doesn't happen before that investigation is over.
Do you believe that? If you believe that, you've got to believe in Santa. Listen, the report into Daniel Khalif's escape hasn't come out yet. There's been no accountability on that. Another inquiry will simply push this down the road, kick it into the long grass, and I bet you what'll happen. Somebody in a nick will lose their job, and the buck will never stop in the in-tray of David Lammy, the Justice Secretary.
Well, I mean, somebody has been suspended. A prison officer has been suspended because of this already. The huge problem is that there are 57,000 prisoners who are released every year. That works out at 1 every 2 minutes. So one can understand that because it has to be done by paperwork, not digitally, because you can't have Wi-Fi in a prison, one can understand that mistakes get made. No mistake shouldn't have been made in a high-profile case like this, which is why an investigation must find out how it was made to stop it happening again.
But the point is, an investigation, an inquiry, nothing ever happens. The Labour Party won't even allow the rape gang inquiries to reach its fruition. It's falling apart. Nothing happens. My point is quite simple. There is never any political accountability. Some minion will be thrown under the bus.
Well, I mean, first of all, something has happened, which is what Rona was just complaining about. David Lammy has put in a 30-point checklist that prisoners must now use before prisoners are released.
More red tape.
Well, but the whole point is checking to make sure you're releasing the right people and not the wrong ones, as happened in this case. That's an emergency measure, so action is being taken to do something about it. Prison governors don't like it because, as you pointed out, it could add 45 minutes to a release.
What they could do is make a choice. They made a choice to spend billions of pounds of public sector pay rises, £30 billion and rising on the Chagos Islands, 22 billion quid on carbon capture processors, endless billions on Ukraine. Why not employ a few more people in NICs?
Let's spend more money on prisons, absolutely. Which again is what the government is doing. That there are 2,500 more prison places now since Labour came in, so they are spending more money on prisons. But I mean, if you compare other things we're spending money on, I don't think that's totally fair on the basis that there's a prison budget. Let's increase that. Let's concentrate on that rather than worry about Chagos or net zero or whatever.
Okay, Nigel, I'd just like to point out I've got things wrong there. Santa Claus is, in fact, real. Nigel Nelson, thank you very much for joining us on the show tonight. Now, coming up just a moment, don't forget, Nigel Farage joining us in the studio. He's in a meeting at present with Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House. And on that moment, coming up, the Sarah Poach in West Streeting racism rows exploded after the Reform MP's comments about diversity and inclusion in the advertising industry. That's next.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A mixed bag of weather for the next 24 hours. Damp for many overnight, rain clearing to showers then, interspersed by sunny spells but with a gusty wind. We're seeing very Atlantic-driven weather at the moment, with low after low after low moving in, and the next low is already upon us. That's sending a band of rain, as well as some mountain snow for Scotland across the UK overnight. It's soon replaced by showers with some breaks in the cloud, particularly through central parts, but with a gusty wind it's not going to be a particularly cold night. Temperatures generally dipping to the mid to high single figures or low double figures, a little bit chillier for northern Scotland. And here, some of the showers first thing again will be falling as snow over the mountains, but at lower levels it's just heavy showers, even some more prolonged spells of rain through central parts of Scotland. Some sunshine in the far north, also the far south of Scotland. Northern Ireland seeing a mix of sunny spells and showers, likewise for much of northwest England, southwest England and Wales. For the Midlands, East Anglia and for parts of the southeast, it's mostly dry first thing with some decent sunny spells. But for all of the UK, we've got this gusty westerly breeze. That's going to be particularly strong over the Pennines and just to the east of the Pennines through the morning especially. And that's going to continue to bring showers in from the west. Some prolonged rain pushing into Cornwall, parts of Devon by the afternoon, and those heavy showers across western Scotland just coming in thick and fast. Away from that, we do have some sunshine, but on Wednesday the more prolonged rain in the southwest spreads more widely to much of the southern two-thirds of the UK, particularly Wales, the southwest of England and later on the Midlands. To the north, northern England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, another day of bright spells but also some heavy showers and some mountain snow for Scotland. Staying mixed Thursday and Friday with the chance of some stronger winds at times.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Just a reminder, we're awaiting Nigel Farage to join us on the show before the end of the show about Reform UK's proposal today for a new government select committee into the rape gangs. He's presently with Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House, putting that proposal forward. We'll have that later in the show. But before that, a row has broken out after Reform MP Sarah Poach said this.
It drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people, full of, you know, people that basically are anything
What's wrong
other
with that,
than
Sarah?
white.
Well, in response to Ms Poachin's comments, the Health Secretary, West Streeting, he waded in and hit out against the Reform MP, claiming her comments about diversity and inclusion in the advertising industry were, of course, racist.
I think what she said was a disgrace. I think it was racist, and the deafening silence from her party leader says it all.
Well, in a social media post later on Saturday, Ms Poachin apologised for those comments. It didn't stop the press hounding Nigel Farage earlier on today. I'm joined now in the studio by GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel Nelson, is this just another storm in a teacup? Racism everywhere you look, or actually is it just stating the bleeding obvious? And that is, there are many more people, black people, in advertising versus the population.
Well, that wasn't the criticism. What Sarah said was that was what drove her mad. So that makes it a racist comment.
What is it?
That's not the same thing as saying Sarah is racist, by the way. But I do think that the comment itself was racist.
Well, Nigel Farage didn't agree. He stated that earlier on today at the Reform press conference. So let's just look at some of the facts, if we can. The advertising industry, there's a report out by Channel 4, that far-right media outlet, just a couple of weeks ago, called Mirror on the Industry, a study that looked at 500 of the top adverts over 2 4-week periods. It found this, that more than half of TV adverts featured black people versus 4% of the population who are black. QED, Nigel, you're 12 times more likely to be featured in an advert if you are black. Miss Potion was simply stating the truth.
Well, if she'd said what you just said, you're absolutely right. She'd have been stating facts. It was the phrase that it drove her mad to see black and Asian people on adverts that makes it a racist comment. When it comes to the numbers of people who do appear on adverts, quite clearly the companies that advertise their products aren't going to do it unless it's working. So, do
you reckon it's that? Or is it something else?
Well, I mean, why would they advertise a product that people wouldn't buy? So on the basis of that, the way they advertise them clearly actually works. And the fact that you have black and Asian people in adverts or on TV programmes, I don't see a problem with that.
It's not a case of there being a problem. It's a case of the fact that...
Well, Sarah has a problem with it. That's the issue.
Well, I don't know if she does. She says...
But it drives her mad.
It drives her mad seeing adverts of that nature. We don't know if she was saying it drives her mad that the people are black, or it drives her mad that the adverts... The direct quote was, it drives me mad when I see adverts full of black people, full of Asian people. Now, you can interpret that as being racist, or you could say it drives me mad that adverts don't reflect reality, which they clearly don't.
Well, I mean, in Sarah's case, that clearly, well, in my mind, that is clearly a racist comment.
Why?
Not that Sarah is racist, because it drives her mad to see black and Asian people in an advert. That's what she said. What I think should happen now is that Nigel Farage was right not to take the whip away, as Labour demanded. What I do think Sarah should do is go on one of the courses that exists over in the House of Commons.
Oh, right. Well, she goes away for reprogramming. Go to the woke gulag. I mean, come off it.
I've met a number of MPs who reluctantly went on these courses, came back and said...
Do you think the worst
reasonable.
Racism in Parliament is Sarah Pochen talking about TV ads, or some of the racism we see from some of the more fruity backbenchers around anti-Semitism, about Tel Aviv football fans, about signing petitions to keep Jews out of Britain? Is this really the correct focus for racism in politics, or is it just a smokescreen, a distraction?
I think that given that she apologised for her words afterwards, she obviously regrets them. She blurted them out. It wouldn't do any harm to go on one of these courses so she doesn't do it again.
I've been through some of the comments and some of the top articles of this, because I think I always prefer to trust the public rather than pearl-clutching politicians. Top comments, why say sorry? It's just her opinion. Never apologise. You're not allowed to criticise a scintilla of anything that the wokeistas consider racist these days, and that's just about everything. But she's right. These are the top comments on the Mail, the Telegraph, even the Times. Even Times readers think this is a storm in a teacup. Isn't that the point? The pearl-clutching classes don't reflect reality.
Well, I don't think a politician should make a racist comment. This was a racist comment, and as a result of that, Sarah did the right thing to apologise immediately afterwards. She can certainly criticise diversity and inclusion. She didn't do that. She says that's the way she ought to have approached it. Yes, she should. It doesn't take away from the fact that comment was racist.
Do you think anti-Semites in Parliament should be sent on reprogramming courses?
Yes, I do. If you have anti-Semitism in Parliament, absolutely.
But they deny it.
Well, they may deny it, but I mean, I think that they should go and do those courses. I actually think every MP should, because you need to address things like unconscious bias, which may be the case here in Sarah's case. That's why it suddenly came out of her mouth.
Do you think the answer to this isn't reprogramming courses being sent to the woke gulag, but actually having adverts that reflect reality? Well, or having TV shows that reflect
so
reality?
What you're saying is, let's take black and Asian people out of adverts until we get them as a proportion of the population.
What I'm saying is, have adverts and have TV shows that reflect the reality. We're just about...
But the reality you're talking about is that they are overrepresented in TV ads and TV shows.
The data
and what you're suggesting is we reduce that to the proportion they are in the population. I don't see why you should. Look,
why?
Just take it away from adverts and watch a series like Wolf Hall, for instance, about Henry VIII's court. Now, that has a number of black actors in there.
No, and that's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous that Henry VIII did have black courtiers, and they're depicted there. Well, we know of one for certain, a trumpeter called John Blank, who came over with Catherine of Aragon's entourage. He appears in the series. We know he existed. We don't know how many other people are there, but when you watch something like Wolf Hall, the idea of having black actors there doesn't detract from the story.
OK, we'll have to leave it there, because if you go back long enough, no doubt a lot of the cavemen, a lot of the Romans, a lot of the Tudors, everybody...
The Romans did too.
Yeah, because we're an ethnic minority background. Thank you very much, Nigel Nelson. Now, coming up in just a moment's time...
Pretty much when we were in that inquiry, we were stripped from our voices, and we're not going to be stripped from our voices anymore. It wasn't morally correct for me to maintain myself on the panel because of how it was going. It was rigged from the start.
Yes, the grooming gangs row continues as Reform UK today unveils its latest proposal alongside grooming gang survivor Ellie Ann Reynolds. Nigel Farage joins me in the studio in just a moment's time. Don't go anywhere.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, here's your latest holiday sun forecast brought to you by the Met Office. Western parts of the Med are set to see some thundery showers over the next few days, but mostly fine further east. So on Tuesday, the Canaries look fine, but across Madeira and certainly parts of Portugal, some heavy outbreaks of rain developing at times. The central part of the Med not looking too bad, isolated showers, some fairly warm sunshine. Some warm sunshine in the east too, but also some thundery showers. And over the next few days, we hold on to thundery showers in the west, mostly fine though the further east you go.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Now, earlier on today, Reform UK made this bombshell announcement at their press conference with the grooming gang survivor, the very brave Ellie-Ann Reynolds, who resigned from the National Inquiry last week and called for Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips to resign.
It's time for Parliament to step up and to do its job. Select committees have the power to summon anybody. They could summon a former social worker. They could summon a former police officer. They could summon a former councillor. They could summon a former member of Parliament. It also has the power to require that people swear an oath. These are the extraordinary powers that Parliament has if it chooses to use it.
And here was the extraordinary brave Ellie-Ann Reynolds herself at the very same press conference.
Was down to the fact that they don't want to vocalise the ethnicity of these men. We almost felt uncomfortable vocalising the ethnicity of these men, and like we shouldn't. Pretty much when we were in that inquiry, we were stripped from our voices, and we're not going to be stripped from our voices anymore. It wasn't morally correct for me to maintain myself on the panel because of how it was going. It was rigged from the start.
I'm delighted to say I'm now joined by Reform UK leader Nigel Farage in the studio, and also by GB News' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Mr. Farage, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Outline, if you could, to viewers tuning in, a novel use of parliamentary power, this select committee, and particularly making people take the oath under threat of perjury.
So, 2 months ago, I went to Washington to testify before the House Judicial Committee about the situation with free speech in Britain. I had to put my hand on the Bible and swear. And I thought, wow, I'm in a court of law. Now, not being an American citizen means I couldn't perjure myself, but I'm in a court of law. I thought, why doesn't the British Parliament, why don't our committees have these powers? Well, funny enough, I was talking to Ranald Jayawardena, former Conservative minister, who said, no, we've all forgotten. Fred Goodwin was summoned, remember the ex-boss of RBS, was summoned to appear before the Treasury Select Committee after the banking collapse. In 2011, the Public Accounts Committee were looking at wasteful money in public finances, actually got people to swear oaths before that committee. Now, 15 years has gone by. We've forgotten about all of this. Parliament has forgotten the powers that it has. It does have the ability to subpoena people to appear. It does have, albeit you may say these are ancient laws and not current now, but it does have the ability to sanction, including imprisonment, in theory. And it does, as it did in 2011, have the ability to make people come and under oath before committee in Parliament, give their statements, which, if they lie, could be open to perjury as well. Parliament has incredible powers, but we've lived through 25 years of Parliament's authority being given to quangos, being given to courts, being given to judges, and it's time to claim it back. And my argument was that we call it grooming gangs. Let's be frank. The mass rape gangs have sullied our reputation around the world. They're a stain on our country. Do you know up to 250,000 young girls have been abused by these gangs over the last few decades? The numbers are almost incomprehensible. And I want Parliament to grip this and restore public trust.
Nigel Farage, something else astonishing that came out today was when Ellie Ann Reynolds said this has been a mess from the start. It's been controlling, gaslighting, manipulative, a shambles, and more to the point, all shrouded in secrecy. You said earlier on this should all be held in the open. It should be televised for the entire media to see and the public to see.
The Palace of Westminster, the mother of parliaments, I mean, there's the image behind you. You know, it is one of the most incredible buildings in the world. I want that to be turned into a court. And it has the ability to do this. It's done it through history. It's done it, as I say, 15 years ago. I want the full glare of media publicity. I want social workers. I want police officers. I want councillors. I want former MPs in those areas who must have known what was going on. Simply must have known what was going on to appear before that court. And I think it can be done quickly. I mean, think about it. Starmer U-turned earlier on this year on a public inquiry. Nearly 5 months have elapsed. Nothing has happened. They can't even agree a chair. So I think this is the right place to do it, in the full glare of media publicity, and to do it quickly.
You've just been to a meeting with Sir Lindsay Hoyle to discuss this within reason. You can tell us how was your idea received?
Well, obviously, the Speaker of the House of Commons, he wants Parliament to be in control of the national debate. He's listened very carefully to what I have to say. He wants me to go back to get a more extended paper written on the powers of Parliament and how relevant they are today. But he's in no way is he opposing me doing what I'm doing. So I call it a very constructive meeting.
He's up for it.
I called it a very constructive. I'm not going to speak for the Speaker, who is, in Parliament up there, and rightly so, I would say. He says, on the basis of what I've said, if I can provide more conclusive evidence that the powers of Parliament are extant and relevant today, that'll make my case even stronger.
Nigel Nelson, what's your take? Is this going to break through we need to get out of this quagmire?
Well, the problem really, it seems to me, is where we started from. The government were reluctant to hold a national inquiry. The only reason they did so was because of a public outcry and also because the survivors wanted it. The government wanted to put in the recommendations from the earlier inquiry, the Alexis J inquiry, before starting a new one. Now we have a public inquiry, or at least we had the bones of a public inquiry, and suddenly we're going to do something different. The question is whether a select committee can do what you want it to do. It can't do granular detail when it comes down to evidence. There'll be 2 or 3 evidence sessions at most. A minister will then come, and that'll be it.
Well, hang on, Nigel. There's no reason why this can't sit for several weeks or a couple of months. And what it might just do is to begin to reveal the cover-up. Now, I'm not going to pretend the cover-up was worse than the crime. The crime itself was abhorrent in so many ways. But it might at least begin that process. And this government, they can't even agree on a chairman. 5 of the rape gang survivors have withdrawn from it already on the basis they broadened it out to wider sexual crime. It's not got the laser focus. I think what I'm offering is whether it's perfect, I don't know. But it's a start.
OK, thank you, Nigel Farage. Thank you, Nigel Nelson. Now, responding to Mr Farage's press conference, the Labour Party chairwoman, Anna Turley, told GB News this: the exploitation of children by grooming gangs is an appalling scandal, and this Labour government is determined to deliver justice for the survivors. As the Prime Minister and the Home Secretary promised the survivors, the scope of the inquiry will not change. It will examine the ethnicity and the religion of offenders, have full powers to compel witnesses and uncover the truth. And whilst the Tories failed to act as this crisis was unfolding and reform shout from the sidelines, this Labour government is getting on with the job of delivering a national inquiry, putting survivors at the heart of the process and holding the institutions that failed them to account. Thank you very much indeed to Nigel Farage and to Nigel Nelson. Always an absolute pleasure. Now, don't go anywhere. The fun is just starting. Coming up next is State of the Nation tonight with Chopper, Chris Hope.
That's right, Martin. We're talking to Sir Julian Smith, of course, the former Northern Ireland Secretary, about how he brought some kind of peace to Northern Ireland, about child abuse, how that can work with the grooming gangs, and of course looking at weighing up with Nigel Farage's idea there. Also speaking to Marie Tidfull about...
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A mixed bag of weather for the next 24 hours. Damp for many overnight, rain clearing to showers then, interspersed by sunny spells but with a gusty wind. We're seeing very Atlantic-driven weather at the moment, with low after low after low moving in, and the next low is already upon us. That's sending a band of rain, as well as some mountain snow for Scotland across the UK overnight. It's soon replaced by showers with some breaks in the cloud, particularly through central parts, but with a gusty wind it's not going to be a particularly cold night. Temperatures generally dipping to the mid to high single figures or low double figures, a little bit chillier for northern Scotland. And here, some of the showers first thing again will be falling as snow over the mountains, but at lower levels it's just heavy showers, even some more prolonged spells of rain through central parts of Scotland. Some sunshine in the far north, also the far south of Scotland. Northern Ireland seeing a mix of sunny spells and showers, likewise for much of northwest England, southwest England and Wales. For the Midlands, East Anglia and for parts of the southeast, it's mostly dry first thing with some decent sunny spells. But for all of the UK, we've got this gusty westerly breeze. That's going to be particularly strong over the Pennines and just to the east of the Pennines through the morning especially. And that's going to continue to bring showers in from the west. Some prolonged rain pushing into Cornwall, parts of Devon by the afternoon, and those heavy showers across western Scotland just coming in thick and fast. Away from that, we do have some sunshine, but on Wednesday the